Gary, a very warm welcome to Wealth Talk.
Thank you, Chris. It's great to be on. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, so please just introduce yourself to our listeners, Gary, and tell us a little bit about, your business.
Well, I'm Gary Soltys, and I'm married to the wonderful wife Jane. And we decided that we would a few years ago change our lifestyle, and we would sell our businesses. And we've bought a holiday complex in West Wales.
Fantastic. And what was your first interaction with Wealth Builders, Gary? How did that come about?
Well, that was about 3 years ago when we linked up with Kevin, and we were looking at our SSAS and looking at setting up a SSAS. So that was a sort of opening a door for us in terms of opportunities and looking at wealth in a very sort of structured way, and looking at opportunities to grow our business as well alongside it.
Great. So we're looking today specifically at how some of our members have managed their time during the lockdown period, Gary. So tell us, how did that affect you and your business, and what did you do to try and, put an entrepreneurial spin on things?
Yes, well, I think it made everybody focus their minds in a slightly different way. In our case, we just bought this farmhouse in West Wales, and alongside the farmhouse, we have a cluster of holiday cottages, 3 holiday cottages, and we also have a CL caravan site, which is just for 5 pitches. And all of a sudden, we had a situation on the 23rd of March where we couldn't invite any guests. So from the 23rd of March through to the 11th of July, we had no visitors at all, no Easter, no bank holiday trade, and it presented a big challenge. However, we looked at that as an opportunity as well, and we developed what we sort of called a lockdown strategy, where we said, well, how can we use our downtime productively to optimize and grow the business and increase future income streams from the assets we already own? And there are 3 strands that we looked at. Firstly, we looked at how can we create additional occupancy from the land and the buildings that we currently have, and that included derelict buildings on the farm, and also how can we enhance the future experience of guests through updates and improvements of buildings and facilities, and finally how we can actually reach out to other market sectors and audiences. So as and when lockdown is released, what can we look at as future opportunities to grow into, which we haven't previously been able to enter. So very much looking to maximize income generation from our existing assets. And I can go through a few bit of the details of that, Chris, if you like, and put a little bit more detail on what we've actually done.
Yeah, I would love to hear that.
Okay, so in terms of additional occupancy, we bought the farmhouse, as I say, 3 years ago, and part of the farm complex included the old original 17th century farmhouse, or 18th century, I should say, farmhouse, built in 1752, and never been used for accommodation. So we took it upon ourselves to bring our building team in and use lockdown in a very sort of controlled way with social distancing, which is an interesting one for builders, but they managed it. Took longer, but it was well worth it. And we've restored the cottage as a bolt hole for 2 people. So it's a place where people can come and have a long weekend and escape city life and just enjoy a place to relax. And we've done that using local materials, restored materials, lime mortar. So it's been a great learning experience for us as well. So that's an opportunity that we saw while people weren't on site, to be able to create another sort of opportunity for income. And that's going to be going live on our website fairly soon. So that's a great sort of, we wouldn't have done it if we had people on site, because with building work, obviously you can't do that kind of thing when you've got a lot of people milling around. We also looked at enhancing future experience for our guests, and infrastructure was one thing that we looked at. And the first thing was expanding our broadband service to all of our cottages and also to our certified location caravan site, so that we can now confidently say that we have fast fibre broadband connection to all of our holiday lets, and maximising the opportunity for home working. And there's been a big increase in demand for that. It's often the first question that people have been asking when they've been booking a holiday for the latter part of this year. So
Interesting.
people have changed the way that they're thinking about holiday lets and where they can go and do perhaps a bit of peaceful work. And another thing that we've done, not very exciting, but we've actually brought a new 3-phase power supply into the farm, which may not rock many people's boat, but it's actually an essential aspect of future-proofing the business at Kleinbrand, and it allows future expansion to accommodate further buildings within the cluster and provides greater security of supply for present and future guests as well. So these things are all disruptive, physically disruptive things, digging trenches, that kind of thing, which you don't have the opportunity to do in a normal year. So in a very perverse way, lockdown has enabled us to do that. And with a building team on site, we also decided to build a separate toilet and shower block for the caravan park, which now enables us to separate and segregate the campsite people from the holiday let people. So it both benefit from an enhanced experience in the future. So there's been a lot going on, I think it's fair to say, physically on site. And then in terms of our own market audiences, we've reached out to Visit Wales, who are the government body for promoting tourism in Wales. And it's quite interesting, lockdown did reveal quite a few civil servants and people in offices who were delighted to speak to people. So it's a great opportunity to get a little bit of education ourselves and pick the brains of people who are in the know and actually make use of their time to understand how they work and how we can then develop markets, perhaps in some form of joint venture with them in the future. So it's really looking at those opportunities and building on them to build a target market and develop a location where people can feel comfortable to remotely work and actually come and enjoy a bit of sunshine. Yes, it does. There is sunshine in Wales. A bit of coastal experience and countryside.
That's great. And you now have visitors returning back to the holiday park, Gary?
We do. The second half of the year is looking very strong. The direct bookings as well that we've received have increased, which is great because we can reduce our overheads in terms of our agency fees. And we've got a pretty good booking complement for next year as well. A lot of people are looking forward to 2021 and are thinking, you know what, I think we're going to stay in the UK and do another staycation next year. I think a lot of people are looking for that security and knowing that they can go somewhere where they can, if they have to work, they can do. They've got good broadband, and they can also go and do a spot of kayaking or go do a bit of coastal walking or go and do some dolphin spotting, whatever they like to do. So yeah, it's lockdown has, I think it's allowed us to do a lot of things which we wouldn't otherwise have been able to do. We are fortunate, we understand that. We were locked down in 16 acres, which is great, being able to take a walk down to the coast. And a lot of people have been less fortunate than us in that respect. But we're hoping that we can now repay the patience that a lot of our guests have shown us and welcome them back with open arms.
Well done for bouncing back in a strong way and even stronger than before, by the sounds of it, Gary.
I hope so.
Thanks for being a great guest on Wealth Talk today.
Thank you, Chris. Look forward to speaking again in the future.